In my video on pen testing books and tools, I mentioned the Metasploitable Linux virtual machine and included a link to the download site for that. Today I'm going to make use of Metasploitable, get a virtual machine up and running, and do a real simple break-in just to show a little bit about what goes on in trying to find out your way into a system. So I already have VMware Workstation Player here running. I downloaded the Metasploitable Linux virtual machine image and I added it to my VMware Workstation. If you need help with that, feel free to say so in the comments. I'll see what I can do to help you get that set up and running. But right now what we're going to do is I'm going to power on this virtual machine. It doesn't take very long to boot. It'll be up and running in just a minute, and I'll do some of the scanning and checking of a system that I normally do to prepare for a break-in. And this is going to be a real simple one. I'm not going to show anything fancy. I'm just doing something so if you're watching any of my videos you can say, oh, I see you did a break-in, I get it, that's cool, can we do something more? And my later videos I will include more advanced break-ins, more information about finding exploits, things like that. So I've got Metasploitable up and running. I'm not going to log into it because the only reason I would log into it is to get the IP address. I've already got that because I've done this before and I know what it's going to come up as. So I'm going to switch screens over here to where I have a terminal prompt, and I'm going to use the nmap command, which is one of the commands that comes with Kali Linux. I'm not running my Kali Linux. I installed nmap into my Ubuntu system, but this works the same whether you're doing it within a Kali virtual machine or if you're doing it from your desktop. We're going to do a TCP scan. I'm going to just accept the default ports. We'll go into nmap scanning later with a little more depth, but for right now all I'm doing is a basic scan of the default ports to be checked on my Metasploitable machine. Give this a little bit of time to run. It doesn't take that long. It's going to come up once it's done. It'll list all the ports that are open on that Metasploitable machine, all the services that are running on the default ports. Now I know from having done a different type of scan in the past, there are more open ports than just what's listed now, but again, these are nmap's default ports that it checks. So what we want to do is, again, a simple break-in. We're just going to start with the FTP connection. So we will FTP 10.0.0.212 is my virtual machine. And it comes up and it tells us we're connected. And we're connecting to a VSFTP 2.3.4 server. Now, I don't have an account set up. I can't log in right away. I'm going to show you while we're doing this in a moment. But the VSFTPD 2.3.4 is the important thing. What I have done to prepare this video and what I'm going to show you is I do a search for VSFTPD 2.3.4 security vulnerabilities, and all I'm doing is I've looked at what's on my running system and I then go to Google and see are there any exploits known for that. And we're going to just look at, you can see from what I've got here, I've looked at a few of these already, but the main one that we're going to look at is the first answer that comes up, and it talks about there is for just a brief time in July 2011, there was a rogue version of VSFTPD uploaded to the official download site. Somebody got in, don't know how, don't know what they did, but they put a special version of VSFTPD that allows you to get a command prompt on a server running VSFTPD if the username you create ends in colon right parentheses. So what we're going to do is I'm going to log in as Bob smiley face, and the password doesn't matter. I'm just going to put ABCD1234. Nothing happens. The system pauses. What's going on? Well, what has happened is, if I do an nmap on just port 6200 on that machine, you'll see now there is a listening connection on port 6200. It shouldn't take this long to do this, but it should come back pretty quickly and show me. And what's happened is we made our connection and just to see what it was doing, and now the FTP prompt has come back. So I'm going to say bye. What's happened is the remote listener, that remote shell on port 6200, exits after a single connection. So I'm going to reconnect to this. I'm going to do Bob again with the smiley face, and any password will do. Now, since we have this port 6200 open, I'm going to use a netcat command, and this is another one I will cover at some point in a video in the future. I'm going to connect to that same machine with netcat on port 6200. Here's where the break-in occurs. Here's where the fun is. If I do a PWD, I can see I'm in root. If I do an ID, I can see that I have root privileges. If I go into Etsy, I can look at Shadow. It's owned by root, which I am, and I can cat out Shadow. And now I've got the hashes for the accounts that I've set up on this machine. So if you find a machine that's running VSFTP 2.3.4, give it a try with the smiley face connection, the smiley face user account, any password, then go to another terminal prompt and open a netcat session to that same machine, port 6200, and you'll have a root shell prompt. So all done with this, I'm going to Control C out of there to end it. That ends the FTP session. I say goodbye, and if I try to netcat now, nothing happens. There's nothing listening. If I do the nmap of that single port, we'll see that it's no longer open. So again, it's a single connection, single use connection. When you get in, do your commands. When you Control C to exit netcat, you'll find that that port is now closed. So that's super simple. Not every break-in is as easy as this, but I wanted to have something to show that we are going to get to doing break-ins on machines that we control. I wanted to show a little bit about how we search for information, but Google is your friend. Get the information on something that's running on a machine, find out what version it is, and just search for security vulnerabilities for it. And if there's a problem, chances are you can find it in the first page or two of the Google results. So I'm going to do more videos in the future with this Metasploitable machine. I'm going to do attacks against a lot of these other things that are running, the Telnet, the SSH, RPC bind, NetBIOS, so on and so forth. But for today, I just wanted to do a single break-in just to show how easy it can be and show a little bit of what you need to do to get started. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comments below, please. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you get Metasploitable set up or get your machine configured so that you can do your own break-ins. And feel free to let me know how things go for you when you try this out. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk again soon.